Welcome back to Cinemax. Today we are going to break down one of the greatest science fiction movies ever made. Interstellar, directed by Christopher Nolan, released in 2014, starring Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Jessica Chastain, and Michael Caine. This film is about space, black holes, time, and the love between a father and his daughter. It is a long and emotional journey, and by the end of it, you will feel like you just went through something big. So let us break it all down from the very beginning, every detail all the way to the ending, and explain everything as simply as possible. The movie starts not in space, but on a farm. The world in this film is dying. Crops are failing everywhere. A disease called blight is killing plants one by one. Corn is the only crop that can still grow, and even that is slowly starting to fail. Massive dust storms sweep across the land regularly, covering everything in thick clouds of dirt. The world is slowly becoming a desert, and people are starving. Our main character is a man named Cooper, played by Matthew McConaughey. Cooper used to be a pilot and an engineer. He was one of the best. But when the world started needing farmers more than pilots, he left that life behind and now runs a corn farm with his father-in-law Donald, his teenage son Tom, and his 10-year-old daughter Murph. Murph is a brilliant and curious girl who believes there is a ghost in her bedroom. She says things keep falling off her bookshelf, specific books, in a pattern that looks like it means something. Cooper dismisses it as just the wind or coincidence, but Murph insists there is something communicating with her through the shelf. Then one night, during one of the massive dust storms, something strange happens. The dust settles on Murph's bedroom floor in a pattern, lines of dust falling in a way that looks like a code. Cooper looks at it closely and realizes it is not random. It is binary code, and when he translates it, the binary gives him coordinates, a specific location somewhere in the United States. Cooper decides to follow the coordinates. He takes Murph with him and they drive through the night until they reach the location. They find a hidden underground facility. Armed guards catch them immediately, but instead of arresting them or sending them away, the people inside bring them in. Inside the facility, Cooper meets Professor Brand, played by Michael Caine. Professor Brand explains everything. He tells Cooper that NASA, the space program that was officially shut down years ago, has been secretly operating underground. They have been working on a plan to save humanity. Not by fixing the Earth, because they believe the Earth cannot be fixed. The blight will keep spreading, and eventually the air itself will become unbreathable for humans. They believe the human race has maybe 1 or 2 generations left on this planet. The plan is to find a new home for humanity somewhere in space. About 50 years before the events of the film, a wormhole appeared near Saturn. Not a natural one. Someone placed it there. A shortcut through space that leads to another galaxy entirely, one that would normally take thousands of years to reach. On the other side of the wormhole, 12 potentially habitable planets have been identified, each one orbiting a black hole called Gargantua. NASA sent 12 individual astronauts, one for each planet, through the wormhole on a mission called the Lazarus missions. Those astronauts sent back signals. 3 of them sent back positive data, meaning their planets might be able to support human life. Now NASA needs someone to go through the wormhole and visit those 3 planets to find out which one is actually livable. That is where Cooper comes in. They need a pilot, the best pilot they have, and Cooper is it. There are 2 plans NASA is working on simultaneously. Plan A is to solve a gravity equation that Professor Brand has been working on for decades. If he can solve it, they can figure out how to launch massive space stations carrying thousands of people off the Earth and into space. Humanity moves to a new planet together. Plan B is the backup. If Plan A fails, the crew carries frozen human embryos, thousands of them, to the best candidate planet and starts the human race over there from scratch. The people left on Earth would be left behind. They would die, but the species would survive. Cooper agrees to go, but it is the hardest decision of his life because it means leaving his children behind, and he doesn't know how long he will be gone. Murph is furious when she finds out. She does not want her father to leave. She has been trying to communicate with the ghost in her room, and she believes the ghost, whatever it is telling her father not to go. She feels abandoned. She and Cooper have a terrible fight before he leaves, and she refuses to say goodbye to him properly. Cooper leaves anyway. The crew that goes on the mission is Cooper, a scientist named Dr. Amelia Brand, who is Professor Brand's daughter and is played by Anne Hathaway, a man named Doyle, a man named Romilly, and two robots named Tars and Case. The robots in this movie are not humanoid. They look like tall rectangular machines that can fold and move in different ways. They are also funny and have adjustable personality settings, including an honesty setting. The ship is called the Endurance, and it takes them 2 years just to reach Saturn and the wormhole. During those 2 years, they stay in hibernation pods to conserve resources. When they wake up near Saturn, they approach the wormhole and prepare to go through. Going through the wormhole is one of the most visually stunning things in the movie. They pass through a tunnel in space and come out in an entirely different galaxy, one that would have been impossible to reach in any normal human lifetime. On the other side is the massive black hole called Gargantua. 3 planets orbit it. They need to visit the planets that sent back positive signals. The 3 scientists from the Lazarus missions who are possibly still alive on those planets are named Dr. Miller, Dr. Mann, and Dr. Edmonds. Each one named their planet after themselves. The first planet they visit is Miller's planet. It is covered entirely in water. Just a shallow ocean stretching to every horizon, with massive waves as tall as mountains that move slowly across the surface. The waves are caused by the gravitational pull of the black hole Gargantua, which is close by. Here is where one of the most important ideas in the film comes in. Gravity affects time. The closer you are to a massive gravitational source like a black hole, the slower time moves for you compared to someone far away. Miller's planet is so close to Gargantua that 1 hour on that planet equals 7 years back on Earth. The crew lands on the planet and almost immediately things go wrong. The planet appears empty. The previous astronaut, Dr. Miller, is nowhere to be found. Then they spot debris from her ship floating in the shallow water, and then they see the data she sent. It is only a partial signal, not a full positive reading, just an hour of data that has been repeating on a loop. Before they can process this, one of those enormous waves appears on the horizon, moving toward them like a slow tidal wave the size of a skyscraper. They scramble to get back to their ship. Doyle does not make it. He is swept away and killed by the wave. Cooper and Brand barely escape and get back into orbit, but they were on that planet for just a few hours. When they reconnect with Romilly, who stayed on the ship in orbit, they find out that he has been waiting for them for 23 years. He spent that time in and out of hibernation, waiting for them to return from a planet where only hours had passed. 23 years of messages from Earth are downloaded to their system. Cooper watches years and years of video messages from his son Tom as he grows up, gets married, has children of his own, and gets older. And then Cooper watches a message from his daughter Murph, who is now an adult woman, working as a scientist at NASA with Professor Brand, trying to solve the gravity equation. She looks him in the eye and tells him that today is her birthday, the same age he was when he left, and she always believed he would come back on this day. Cooper breaks down completely. It is one of the most emotional scenes in the film. He had already missed his children's entire childhoods. They have very little fuel left. They can only visit one more planet. They have to choose between Mann's planet and Edmonds' planet. Dr. Brand argues for Edmonds' planet because the data from there looks better and because she is in love with Edmonds and wants to believe in him. Cooper argues for Mann's planet because Dr. Mann is still alive there and sending stronger signals, meaning they can get more information from him directly. They go to Mann's planet. Mann's planet is cold and covered in thick clouds of ice. Dr. Mann, played by Matt Damon, is there in his hibernation pod. They wake him up and he is overjoyed to see other humans after all those years alone on a frozen planet. He weeps when he sees them. But something is wrong with Mann. And as the movie goes on, the truth comes out. Mann's planet is not habitable. The data he sent back was falsified. He made up the positive readings because he was terrified of dying alone on an empty ice planet and he wanted someone to come. He manipulated his own mission data so that a rescue crew would arrive. Mann tries to kill Cooper. He leaves him for dead in a frozen cave with a broken helmet while he steals a ship to try to dock with the Endurance and escape. Cooper survives and gets back to the Endurance. But when Mann tries to manually dock with the ship, he does it wrong and the airlock explodes. Mann is killed in the explosion and the Endurance is badly damaged and sent spinning out of control. Cooper uses every bit of his pilot skill to stabilize the spinning ship and bring it back under control. It is one of the most intense scenes in the whole movie. They are now low on fuel and running out of options. Cooper comes up with a plan. They use Gargantua's gravity to slingshot themselves toward Edmund's planet, but the maneuver requires them to get extremely close to the black hole. To reduce the weight of the ship and give Brand enough fuel to reach Edmund's planet safely, Cooper and Tars detach their smaller vehicles and fall toward the black hole themselves, sacrificing their own escape to save Brand and the mission. Cooper and Tars fall into Gargantua. What happens inside the black hole is the most mind-bending part of the entire film. Instead of being destroyed, Cooper finds himself inside something called the tesseract. It is a 5-dimensional space that someone has constructed inside the black hole, a space where time itself is laid out like a physical dimension that can be moved through. Cooper can see through the walls of the tesseract into different moments in time, all of them connected to Murph's bookshelf in her bedroom back on Earth. He can see Murph as a child. He can see the room from before he left and after he left, and at many different points in time. He realizes something enormous. He is the ghost. He was the ghost the whole time. The strange force that knocked the books off Murph's shelf, the one she always believed was trying to communicate with her, was Cooper himself, sending messages from inside the tesseract, traveling back through time. He was the one who left the binary coordinates in the dust that led him to NASA in the first place. It was a loop. He led himself to NASA so he could go on the mission, so he could end up in the tesseract, so he could lead himself to NASA. Now Cooper has to use this same ability to send Murph the most important message ever. Inside the black hole, Tars has collected the quantum data needed to solve Professor Brand's gravity equation, the equation that would let humanity build those massive space stations and leave Earth. But Cooper needs to send that data to Murph in a way she can receive and understand. He uses the second hand of Murph's old watch, the watch he gave her before he left, to send the data in Morse code through tiny gravitational pulses that move the watch hand in patterns. He pushes the data through time across decades into a watch sitting on a shelf in a bedroom. Back on Earth, adult Murph has been working on the gravity equation with Professor Brand for years, but she discovered something terrible. Professor Brand knew all along that Plan A was impossible to solve with the information they had. They needed data from inside a black hole to complete the equation, data that was physically impossible to collect from outside it. He knew this for years but kept it secret so that people would have hope. He kept working on the impossible equation to keep people believing there was a chance. He did not want to admit that Plan B, leaving people on Earth to die, was the only real option. Brand confesses this to Murph on his deathbed. Murph is devastated and furious, but she does not give up. She is holding the watch Cooper gave her when she notices the second hand moving in a strange pattern. Not broken, not random, a pattern. She realizes it is Morse code. She reads the data encoded in the movements of the watch hand, and she solves the gravity equation. With the equation solved, the massive space stations can be built and launched. Humanity escapes Earth. People are saved. After sending the data, Cooper is ejected from the tesseract by the same higher dimensional beings who built it, whatever they are. The film suggests they are future humans who have evolved beyond 3-dimensional existence and gained control over time and gravity. They built the wormhole near Saturn. They built the tesseract inside the black hole. All of it was a long plan to give humanity the tools it needed to save itself through Murph and Cooper. Cooper comes out near Saturn and is picked up by a rescue craft. He wakes up in a hospital on one of the massive space stations now orbiting Saturn, built using the equation Murph solved. Everything worked. But time passed differently for Cooper. He is still the same age he was when he left, and Murph is now a very old woman, well over 100 years old. She has spent her entire life waiting for her father to come back. Cooper goes to see her. Murph is surrounded by her children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren in a hospital room. She is old and wise and at peace. She smiles when she sees him. She tells him no parent should have to watch their child die, and she does not want him to see that. She tells him to go find Amelia Brand instead, who made it to Edmund's planet and is starting a new colony there for humanity. Cooper and Tars steal a ship and head through the wormhole toward Edmund's planet to find Brand and help build the future. So what does this movie mean? On the surface, it is a story about saving the human race, but what it is really about is love and time and the price of sacrifice. Cooper left his daughter to save humanity, and it cost him everything. He missed her entire life. By the time he came back, she was already at the end of hers. The movie asks a big question: can love cross time? Can the bond between two people be strong enough to reach across years and dimensions and still mean something? And the answer this film gives is yes. The love between Cooper and Murph is literally what saves the human race. It is the reason he kept trying inside the tesseract. It is what guided him to the right moment. It is what made Murph keep working when everyone else had given up. The ghost in the bedroom was always a message from the future. The coordinates in the dust led Cooper exactly where he needed to go. The watch ticking in Morse code gave Murph the answer she needed. Every mysterious thing in the film was Cooper from the future, trying to reach his daughter across time because he loved her so much he could not stop trying, even when he was falling into a black hole. Interstellar is a film about space, but it is also a film about being a parent, about leaving and coming back, about the things we do for the people we love, and about how some things like love do not follow the rules of time or physics or logic. They just are, and that is Interstellar, a space epic that is really a love letter from a father to his daughter sent across time through the hand of a watch. That is it for today. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next video. We will see you in the next one.